Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you how we can use the built-in spot sets feature within SpotMap to determine the anti-HCP coverage percentage in each quadrant of our gel and our blot. Now, the reason you want to be able to do this is the kind of minimum guidelines for validation of an anti-HCP antibody for use in ELISA is that it has a coverage percentage over 50% in each quadrant of the gel and blot pair. Now, you may be asking yourself, how is that different to having just a coverage percentage greater than 50% overall? So I'm going to explain that to you, how defining it by quadrant, why you would want to define it by quadrant. So basically, within your 2D gel and Western blot, you know that your proteins are separated by their isoelectric point along the top, and then they're separated by their molecular weight down. So what you could have is you could have an anti-HCP antibody that's very specific for low molecular weight, low isoelectric point proteins. So you could have a very high concentration of spots here, and you'd say, oh, I've covered 90% of the proteins in this area. It would skew your overall coverage towards the higher end. By breaking it down into quadrant, you can make sure that you've got not only good antibody coverage of your host cell proteins, but that you've got good coverage in both the low and high molecular weight and the low and high isoelectric point. So it gives you kind of 4 points of coverage reference across the entire kind of host cell protein proteome, rather than relying on an overall picture. Now, there are some instances where your antibody may present falsely high coverage, and you want to just use this quadrant method as a double check, or it might be part of your SOP. But that's how quadrant percentage coverage would change your overall coverage score. So what I want to do is, I've got this kind of pre-analyzed, not very well as it was just done quickly, pre-analyzed gel and blot pair. You can see I've got a 91% coverage when I consider the entire picture. So when I look across the two, I get 91% coverage, and you would think, oh, that's great, that's very high. I can go ahead and validate this antibody on my ELISA. So I'll just delete this spot set that I've got here. So if you come down to the spot section on the right hand side, you can see that currently I've got no spot sets. Now, if I click this cog here, you'll see that actually within within SpotMap, we have got a list of pre-configured spot sets. So what this allows you to do is very quickly separate out and choose spots that you're only interested in looking at. So we've got the top one here is create 4 quadrant sets, and if I click this, you'll see that it's created a top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right quadrant spot set automatically. So spot sets are just a group of spots. So if I click this button here, I can show only the spot set that I'm interested in. So you can turn them on or off. And you can see that as I move along my spot sets, it changes the coverage score that I've got. So what you would want to do is actually have over 50%, or depending on your SOP, what is validated within your workplace, what you would accept. But you would want to see above that score in each section. So you can see how, as I change my quadrant analysis, I'm moving away from that 91%, and in some places I'm higher and in some places I'm lower. And you can see within the section what's missing, what's additional, and what's common within that area in terms of spots, in terms of protein. And if you click on the name of a spot set, you can select all of those spots in that set. And then you can do things like rename them and absorb them or exclude them from your analysis, and export the information for only those spots as a CSV. So you can put it into Excel. And then of course you can also delete the spots from that section. So this is how you would take your Analyse project and then divide it into the quadrants if you need to perform that validation work. We've also got other spot sets built into SpotMap as by default, so this allows you to view and select only these spots. So it's useful for when you want to do things like, if you want to delete all the overlap spots, you would create a spot set with all the overlap spots and then delete it using the options I showed you before. We can select only common spots, only missing spots, top 100 spots based on their volume or their area. So you've got the option there, top 50, top 10. And if you wanted to select a load of spots and then create a spot set from the ones that you've selected, if you had a load selected here and clicked create from clipboard, copied them and then clicked create from clipboard, you could then use that as a spot set, so you can select it easily, you can turn it on or off in terms of visualization. So there's a lot of power that we can use within the spot sets function, but by default the most useful one in terms of anti-HCP antibody validation would be creating the 4 quadrant sets to do your analysis. As ever, thanks for watching. And if you'd be interested in trialing a copy of our SpotMap HCP analysis software in your lab with your own data, please check out the links in the description below.